Welcome to aroundBI. This is continuum of our learning of BO universe. Our last tutorial was on derived table. We learned what is derived table and why do we need derived table in BO universe. We also discussed its advantages and disadvantages. In this tutorial, we will talk about another universe element, ALIAS. Idea for these basic concept tutorials is to keep us fundamentally sound and prepare ground for more complex topics. That would be on resolving join path problems in universe schema such as loop issues, chasm trap and fan trap. Let's start. Literal meaning of alias is an alternate name or address. In business object world, when we say alias, we refer a table in the universe schema. It is a table that is an exact duplicate of the base table that is present in the schema but with a different name. The data in the alias table is exactly the same as the original table. If we check this example, order calendar and sales calendar are two alias tables. They are copy of test calendar table that is a base table in universe schema. And we can see that only visual difference between alias table and the base table is difference in their names. Rest everything is identical. Then a question comes, why do we need to create alias table when base table is already present in schema? To understand more, let's open our test universe. I am using information design tool and have opened data foundation layer. Concept of alias is same for both IDT and universe design tool. I have pulled two tables for demo, table demo sample sales that has sales information in it and calendar table. Table demo sample sales has two date fields, order date and sale date. To join calendar table with sales table, we need a join and either of these two date fields available in demo sales table would be a good candidate. I want calendar details for sales date, so I can go ahead and join sale date from sample sales table with cal date from calendar table. It's looking good. Now based on that join, I have created sales date and all related objects in business layer and everything is working fine. But are we missing anything? What about order date? How can we create date objects for order date field same way as we have created for sale date field? I can change the join condition and pull order date instead of sale date, and then I can create objects for order date, but we have to drop sale date objects, and then the situation would be same, objects for one date field but not for other. Can we join both date fields to calendar table? Answer would be no. Joining order date and sale date from sample sales table with cal date in calendar table wouldn't be a good idea, as it will create two conditions in where clause. For every query, it will return data only when both sale date and order date match calendar date, and this will produce incorrect result. At a time, only one join on date columns between these two tables will return correct result. But we need separate date objects for sale date and separate date objects for order date, and to do so we require both fields in its own join condition. If we would have two identical calendar tables, calendar 1 and calendar 2, we could join order date with calendar 1 table and sale date with calendar 2 table, and this would allow us to create separate date objects for order date and sale date. Seems we have a solution, but keeping same table two times is not possible in universe schema, as it will confuse SQL generation. And there comes the concept of alias table, where we will create a copy of base table but will change its name. Table content will be same, but this different name will provide different meaning and will trick the SQL of a query to accept that we are using two different tables. Let's add an alias for calendar table. We can create alias manually or let the IDT or UDT automatically detect potential alias that will solve a join issue. In our case, we will create it manually. Either we can click insert and then insert alias, or we can select the base table for which we need alias and then right click, insert and alias table. A insert alias table dialog box will appear that will prompt us to enter a name for the new alias. We can keep proposed ones, but I prefer to give a name that is relevant to the role of the alias. Let's call it order_Callan. The new alias table is now showing in the structure pane. We can note that for each alias table, the name of the original table is showing in brackets. This also helps to avoid any confusion between base table with alias. Since our second calendar table is available in schema, we can now join order date field from sample sales table to cal date from alias table. Now we have two joins, each for order date and sale date fields, and we are good to create separate date objects, something like this. Other example of using alias would be customer region and supplier region, where both tables would be alias of base table region. We should always look carefully universe schema and find out which table is playing more than one role. There may be a need to create alias table to get correct results. So we got the idea that the main reason for using alias is to use the table more than once in a query. What are the other reasons for which we need an alias table in universe? Very common use of alias in universe development is to solve potential loops in the use of base tables. A loop is a set of joins that defines a closed path through a set of tables in a schema. We will talk in details about loop and steps to resolve loop issues in next tutorial. Alias is also used to solve potential fan traps. This can occur in a serial one-to-many join path that can return inflated results when aggregates are summed at the many end of the join. We will learn more on fan trap in next tutorial. Many times while writing freehand SQL, we use alias to abbreviate the table names to save typing. Take the example of aggregate year, quarter, month, state table in eFashion universe. If I write a freehand SQL on this table, it would be time consuming with this long name of the table. Rather than that, we can use alias to shorten the table name and it would avoid lot of pain in writing SQL. Another possible use is to create an alias for each base table in the schema. We can then build the schema using the alias tables, not with the original base tables. We can keep all the base tables together away from the main universe structure, and this will allow us to give meaningful names to table and prevents the need to rebuild major sections of the universe structure if the base table needs to be alias at a later stage. This is end of this tutorial. Our next video will be on understanding context that we will use in resolving universe join issues. Please share your feedback and comments with us. Thanks for watching.